It is now 5:38 on June 18th, 2024, and I would like to call this Honolulu Youth Commission meeting to a start. If the secretaries could please do attendance.
Daniel Nguyen. Diego Carranza.
Here.
Maya Payne.
Here.
Aza Shimizu.
Here.
Kalina Shea.
Here.
Colton Soon.
Here.
Riley Machina.
Here.
Lindsay Miller.
Here.
Bronson Azama. Nicole Balidoy.
Here.
Charlotte Campbell.
Present.
Con Ho.
Here.
Esther Lim.
Present.
Mackenzie Brammer. The commission has met quorum for a meeting.
Moving on to the next order of business, are there any members of the public that would like to testify tonight? Seeing not, moving on to the next agenda item, are there any motions to approve the May minutes?
I motion to approve May minutes.
Are there any seconds?
I second that.
The May minutes have now been approved. Moving on to the next order of business, do the secretaries have any social media updates?
I don't have any. If Esther wants to say anything.
No, there aren't any updates. Nothing really happened.
Are there any updates from the Honolulu Youth Commission surveys or the Commissioner Initiative surveys?
Last time I checked, no, there was not.
Seeing not, moving on to the permitted interaction groups. I know that there is some updates with the PIG for education, if they would like to share.
Yeah, I can go ahead and share some. We kind of just did some text message conversation, but we'll hopefully be meeting soon. I brought up the idea of trying to do a resolution related to student access to public transportation. So, like at my university for UH West Oahu, I was kind of looking into expanding the UPass program, which is what some of the UH campuses have, but it's not across the board, which I think is pretty weird. Right now it's only at KCC, Kapiolani, and UH Manoa. And I think especially with the rail now on kind of the West Oahu side, I think it'd be really beneficial to have that at like, Leeward, UH West Oahu, and hopefully soon like Honolulu Community College. So I kind of looked into that before. I did like a survey and have met with some of the DTS representatives. But that was just on behalf of like my UH role, like in student government. So I brought the idea to the education group about kind of continuing with that idea, advocating as the Honolulu Youth Commission for that. And then also maybe expanding to like the K through 12 students. And I looked it up, and right now they do have a program that started last year where students can apply to get like a free bus and rail pass, but that's only for high schoolers. And I'm also not too sure if that's like a long-term program they're doing, or it's kind of just right now due to the school bus driver shortage. So we're hoping to organize another meeting with the DTS folks to learn a little bit more about that issue and like what they might have to say about these ideas, so we can hopefully do a reso by next meeting that kind of takes into account their input too. But yeah, if anyone else too wants to join in on that meeting, nothing's been set up yet. I'm gonna try emailing sometime soon after today's meeting. But you can message like in our Signal group chat if you would want to be invited to that, and I can include you in the email thread. But yeah, if anyone else from the education PIG wants to share too, go ahead.
I'm in the education pig also, and I think these are really great ideas by Lindsay, and I want to help with creating the resolutions and going to these meetings. I think it's important for city transportation to really be offered to young people, especially to create lifelong riders. I think right now there's like an issue that there's not enough riders within our system for it to be sustainable. So starting with people while they're young, while they're in college, while they're in high school and middle school, and just get them comfortable and known with traveling in city transportation. So maybe even using some of that when we're talking to these key stakeholders to maybe get some lower rates so that more K through 12 and college students are utilizing our city transportation.
Were there any other comments from the PIG for education? Seeing that, moving on to the PIG for Red Hill. I'm not sure if any of the members are present today, but if they are there any updates?
There haven't been any updates from the Red Hill PIG.
Okay,
At least that.
thank you. Moving on to the PIG for outreach. I don't think there are any updates for that one. Okay.
I don't think we have any updates, but last meeting we talked about boosting the Youth Commission survey on our Instagram, and I think it was said that the outreach committee would talk about it. So maybe before the next meeting, that's something you can put on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. Okay. No, you're good. Moving on to the PIG for youth intervention and trafficking.
No updates.
Okay. No updates, and then I believe there are no updates for the newsletter one either. Okay. Was there any other remaining comments for the PIGs before we move on to the resolutions? Okay. Seeing not, we do have 3 resolutions today, starting with HYC Resolution 24-007, I believe was introduced by Commissioner Shimizu. Just opening the floor if there's any comments before we vote on that, if Asa wanted to talk about it.
Oh, sure. So, I'm sure you guys already saw, but basically this resolution is urging the city and council city and county to place recycling receptacles at all public parks and playgrounds and beaches and other areas. And my reasoning for this is simply the need for recycling bins at those places because of the amount of plastic produced at those places. There's also no current ban on single-use plastics bottles in Hawaii, and thus we do need a lot of recycling units around our island. Additionally, there's already a law in place requiring recycling receptacles to be at all city and county public buildings, such as this building we're in right now, the Honolulu Hale, and thus there's already measures in place for us to be able to make this happen. We just need to extend it to public areas such as parks, beaches, and etc.
Thank you, Commissioner Shimizu. Were there any comments from any other commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question. I know Hawaii isn't super big on recycling. Is there a large enough infrastructure to support an increase in recycling units throughout this city?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the issue really for that is the lack of a recycling facility here in Hawaii. We have to export all of our recycled materials. However, the amount of recycled plastics that we produce per house in Hawaii, which is what the blue bins are for, are expected to be much more than what the public areas would produce, and thus it would be able to fit into our current plan of exporting recycled materials.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's a really great resolution, and I commend you for taking the time to do the research and write it. Definitely a good resolution to push the city towards more recycling.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Consideration. I motion to consider this resolution.
I second that.
All in favor of HYC Resolution 24-007, please, well, we can't really say aye because we're on Zoom.
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
okay. Great. There was no nays, so HYC Resolution 24007 is now passed. Congratulations, Commissioner Shimizu. Moving on to HYC Resolution 24-008 that I believe was also written by Commissioner Shimizu. Floor is open.
Sure. This resolution is proposing that City Council amend a previous bill that discusses the policy on fees for organized recreational programs. I don't believe we're able to share that with the group. But anyways, there's a section 10-7.1 which discusses things that the parks or that the city has to question when determining things like league fees and stuff like that. And I was hoping that we could simply add a section that allows for the Parks and Recs to consider the economic status of people before discussing waiver of league fees for public leagues. And basically, I was hoping that in my resolution, I discussed all of the benefits of sports and how important sports are for especially those who may not have as much money in their households, because they can often get turned to other things that may not be as beneficial as sports are, and thus it is extra important to get those in need, those kids in need, access to be able to play these sports that we all love. So yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So essentially, like, what your resolution is trying to push the city and county to do is essentially get the director of Department of Rec and Parks and Rec to really is it more so like there's already a fee waiver program in place.
Yes.
However, like, so how is it currently? How are these waivers being dealt out?
So there are ways in which people can obtain free or money off on certain league fees. But that process is not dependent on their economic status as a household, and that's what I'm hoping that they focus on. Additionally, if you go further down in this article, it talks about summer fun activities, and again, with these summer fun activities, people are able to obtain these activities for free via the government, and thus I was hoping that these opportunities could be in place for those in need for league fees.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, just to clarify, you can get fee waivers, but they're not necessarily based on your economic status.
Yes.
So
So I'm hoping that people who well, not fee waivers, but reduced league
Reduced.
fees.
yeah.
Yeah, based on economic status, just so more people can afford to play
Uh-huh.
sports.
Do you know what it's based on right now?
I'm not exactly sure because the article is pretty vague on that subject, but it does state that it's assessing cost-effective methods to like increase the efficiency and other things like that. With the summer fun programs, it is based on economic status of the households, which is why I was hoping we could shift that over to league fees.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm really trying to get at here is the lack of consideration for the economic status of households when it comes to league fees.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask another question? Like,
Yeah.
so in terms of like, pretty much what this resolution is trying to do is you want to make the system in terms of fee waivers for recreational leagues more efficient in that we're giving money to families that need it,
Yes.
in opposed to families that may not necessarily
Exactly.
need it. Okay.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions?
Okay, I'll motion to consider.
Yeah, I'll second it.
That was the discussion portion. So I believe HYC Resolution 24-008 now moves to a vote. All in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 There is no nays, so HYC Resolution 24-008 has been passed with no difficulties. Congratulations, Commissioner Shimizu. I believe there's another resolution, HYC 24-009, that was written by Assistant Secretary Lim. She would like to speak about it.
Yeah, so the resolution I wrote had to concern speed bumps on Rose Street and Loco Drive, and I made it specific to these two streets because I thought it could be a starting step towards installing speed bumps around a lot of residential areas with school zones near them. And I felt the need to write this because there was a lot of speeding and traffic that really threatened students who were walking back and forth, and even just people who live there, homeowners and people who are walking on those streets because there's also no sidewalks. And I felt like we had to shed light on areas with no sidewalks, or even if they do have sidewalks, the lack of speed bumps with areas with common speeding that are also extreme was something that we might need to bring up to transportation services. So I wrote this resolution to, I guess, bring attention to that. I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
I have a comment, if it's okay with Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really great resolution. Honestly, I had it drafted up. Esther beat me to it. It's a super big issue for the community of Wahiwa. It's been something that's been pushed for multiple years at all levels of government, and something that really harms the community on a daily, not just by cars, but also by dirt bikers. They very loudly will speed down that road, and it's become a big issue, especially for the more elder population in that community. Feel harassed and powerless. So this is a really great resolution, and commendations to Esther for writing it.
Kind of a question to add on to what Diego just said. It seems like you said that it's been discussed for many years in Wahiwa. Do you know why people oppose it?
So a lot of like people have said there have been like petitioning efforts, and there have been petitioning efforts even recently too. But the most common like reasons of why this thing is like still an issue, why the speed bumps haven't been installed yet, is because it like never got through. It always got stuck some part within the process. Yeah. And I think that was really the biggest thing. Like Diego mentioned that it was brought up on like a lot of or almost all levels of government, but it just somehow got stuck, whether it was seen or unknown or unnoticed.
What do you? Sorry. Oh yeah, go ahead, Diego.
Yeah, just to add on to that a little bit, it's mainly been the community feels very powerless, and so it's really hard to rally them to sign a petition, just because it's been going on for so many years and there's been so many different efforts. So that's the more traditional method for a community to get speed bumps is to sign a petition from homeowners, and then also just I know DTS is overworked, and putting in speed bumps there on so many other things that they have going on, it's honestly just been a thing of urgency, and that's, speed bumps aren't necessarily one of the most urgent things in DTS's list of things they got to get done. So it really just needs extra pushing.
Esther, I really enjoyed the part that you said this is near school districts, and that you hope this is like a bouncing off point where they start with these two roads and then possibly they do some others. And I really agree with that. I think people walking home from school need to be protected, and I know near my home area they've actually installed some by our local elementary schools. So I really do hope that this is something that is going to be successful for you and your district. And with that, I'll motion to consider HYC Resolution 24-009.
A second.
With that, all in favor of HYC Resolution 24-009, please say aye. And this resolution has now passed. Congratulations, Assistant Secretary Lim. Moving on to the next order of business, I had this in the agenda just to kind of discuss the mayor's town halls and how those have been going. If any commissioners attended, if they want to share their experiences.
Yeah, so me and Commissioner Shimizu attended the what district? Do you know the district?
District 4?
District 4, so Hawaii Kai, Kahala, all the way up to I believe Kaneohe. And I'd say the biggest concern at that meeting had to be the is it Stairway to Heaven? Yeah, Stairway to Heaven. There was a large contingency of pro stairs supporters there, and it's a tough issue. The city has already been adamant about closing the hike, and pretty much like the mayor was adamant at the meeting about there's really no discussion about it. They're closing it, but that kind of was like the big issue at the meeting was there was a lot of protest against the closing of Stairway to Heaven. Commissioner Shimizu, do you want to add on to that?
Sure. So yeah, that was the main issue. Some other issues I caught on were the process or some people were protesting the development of the back areas of Kuli'o'o as there were burial sites in the area, ancient Hawaiian burial sites. So that was another issue brought up. Another issue I can recall is the lack of, I guess, consideration by the mayor for Hanauma Bay and the Hanauma Bay group that was.
I think they're thanking him though.
There was only one.
Oh, well, the city like settled.
Yeah,
They settled
yeah.
with this like. Well, we're not too familiar with the gist of the lawsuit, but essentially this group, in support of Hanauma Bay, I don't know if it was for like negligence or something, won millions of dollars from the city, and in a lawsuit, and yeah, those are the main themes.
And then the last thing I caught on was this was not really a big issue that was brought up, but the issue of cesspools and the leakage of cesspools in our more rural areas of the island, and I thought that was a very big issue that I'm hoping to address in the future.
Yeah, Vice Chair Zama. You have your hand up.
Sorry, it's a bit choppy. Was that a call on me? Sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry. Thank you. My
No problem.
volume's not the best right now, but just a quick question to. I find it interesting the stairs came up in Hawaii High. I'm from Kaneohe area, so that's good to know. But for the Kuli'o'o, for the burial grounds, I recall the city was trying to get that property out, so I'm not too sure. Do you know what some of the concerns were regarding the burials?
Would you like to?
Yeah, I believe it was actually more of a misunderstanding. I'm pretty sure what was happening was there was some kind of sale between a developer and the city, and I think I'm pretty sure the developer promised them that they weren't going to excavate the burial site, and then but when they sold the land to the city, I believe, or it may have been the state, there was no such promises made in terms of the burial site. So I'm not 100% sure. I can check my notes right now, but it was more so surrounding. They wanted certainty that the city was going to protect these burial sites as the developers had promised.
Yeah, I believe that's
Thank
right.
you.
I think, yeah, the issue was with the developer, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I personally really recommend that, as a commission, we all attend as many town hall meetings as we can, because they're really important as we can find out the most pressing issues going on in our community. And clearly, with things like the Stairway to Heaven, other districts as well will come over and express their issues as well.
Commissioner Payne.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on really quick. Also from the Kailua district, I've heard a lot about the stairways, and it does seem like now that the stairways are really under the threat of deconstruction, that the community is really speaking out about it. So I'm glad you brought that up, because those are really good points. I think it's definitely something good to have in mind, whether we want to try to draft some legislation about it in a way that kind of hopes to alleviate some of the issues brought up by the residents in the area, but also prevents it from being taken down, because for many, it's considered like a nationally historic, monument from the World War II. And a lot of public opinion polls state that like a majority of the residents would like it to be saved. And the main reason they're being taken down is because the residents in the area have a problem with people trespassing. So yeah, I just wanted to add on to that and say like I really support the idea of thinking more into writing legislation about that. I'll also look into that to try to represent the community members as a majority want them to be saved.
Great point, Commissioner Payne. But as it seemed from the town hall meeting, that the issue of the Stairway to Heaven has pretty much been closed by the mayor, as he was attempting to make clear to the people there, and essentially he was saying that it was going to be taken down, and that was a done deal. So I'm not sure if making legislation about that is a great idea at the point, but it is clear that a lot of people in the community do support the stairs being saved.
Adding on to that point.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Adding on to that point, it seems like this is an issue that kind of like surrounds like younger people, like are the ones that are the most vocal about it. So like I'm at the town hall, was it mostly like young people?
I'd say so, yeah. Maybe 20s, 30s, maybe a couple people in their 50s. There was a UH professor actually there,
really?
As well.
It was a good variety of people. There were some older people who we discussed it as a historic monumental site with like World War II and stuff like that. And then it seemed pretty clear that the younger people there were more considered it as like a hiking. Yeah.
I have a quick question. Was there anyone in support of taking down the stairs at any of these meetings?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe. Yeah, the one who was most adamant about that point of view was the mayor. And I think so his main point was these residents that live near the stairs, they have a right to live with privacy, and ultimately the word he used was they've been terrorized for years by trespassers. So I think that's just the main concern with the mayor is in terms of, making sure that those residents, have like maintain their rights as property owners, right? That against trespassing and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's a complex issue. I think that's like the biggest takeaway from it. There was a large contingency. I'd say maybe half the meeting was people with signs saying save the stairs, yeah. So
and also to add on to kind of add to that question, typically the people that go to town hall meetings are those who have questions or concerns that they want to discuss with the mayor, and thus the people who since they're already destroying the stairs, the people who are in support of the destruction of the stairs likely wouldn't feel the need to go.
Commissioner Carranza?
Yeah, if it's okay with the chair, I'd like to hear the perspective from the commissioner from that side of the island. If Bronson would like to kind of give what they've seen from their community regarding this issue as we talk about legislation.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Carranza. Sorry guys, still a little under the weather. But when it comes to at least the perspective for our community, and I don't want to dance around sunshine too much and having that part of the discussion, but there is like a mixed feelings here too, because and that has to do with partly the history of the stairs, because there used to be managed access when it was under the Coast Guard, which is why people would park at the old transmitter building and access it through there. There are a lot of different cultural perspectives as well with the stairs. I think, like, personally, from my perspective, and I think, like, environmentally though, like, if we're serious about closing the stairs, we also need to be serious about the degradation that happens when people are accessing it from Honolulu, because the amount of environmental damage from that side is actually much worse than on the current access site from the way up the stairs. Because they actually carved the path in the mountain, which now rain degrades and splitting the mountain in half slowly. So that's a bigger hazard, I think, when it comes to access, which is why I'm appreciative that the mayor did shut down the Honolulu Park for the time being. But that needs to be considered. There are some concerns with the current agreement with the stairs because portions of the stairs are being given to Pualoa Ranch. I don't know how that arrangement got arranged, but there's a lot of community concerns on our side of the district because Pualoa, if they were to install it on that ridge line, it's actually a whole nother issue regarding cultural sites because Pualoa is a very known dense cultural landscape. So if they're gonna be utilizing parts of the stairs for anything related to tourist attractions, that's gonna be really problematic from the community, from some of the community members out here. But again, there is mixed feelings there. Yes, there's the experience of the residents. There's also those who believe in managed access. And then there's, but a lot of that it's a very complex issue, like some have highlighted. But yeah, that's just some of the perspective that I've at least listened to. Hope that's helpful. Mahalo.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I guess building up of that, I guess just something I want to say is just because the mayor says it's final doesn't mean it's final. There's still ways that we can be a part of community organizing if this is an issue that we want to take up. There's still ways to be active on the issue.
I also want to agree with Diego there that even if it said this is a done deal, I think that our voices and the voices of our community are still really important and can make change, and we can change things. But going back to the issue of the stairs, from my understanding, I always thought it was a safety issue, where that the city felt that it was unsafe for people to continue to use the stairs because portions were missing or whatever. But if the tone is starting to change where it's now just for residents and for residential privacy, I'm kind of in the middle of that. I guess I need to learn more about what the residents there have been going through, but from my understanding, it's public land, and I don't understand that argument if it's on public land and using public places to park. But that's just my current feelings.
I think the residential issue comes from people getting to the stairs, like they cut through yards.
Yeah.
I think, and they like jump fences and stuff. But adding on to your point, I always heard it also as a safety issue, and how like these rescues cost the city and the state like a ton of money and a lot of resources to be able to do when people get stuck up there. So. Commissioner Payne. I believe you have your hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, my audio is bad. Were you talking to me?
Yeah, I think you have your hand
Okay.
up, unless that's a residual hand.
Yes. Sorry, yeah, no, my audio is just bad, sorry. Thanks. Oh, I just want to say, like, I really like that you guys are bringing up super good points about, like, the issues between what the residents are going through and also private lands. I thought a good example was, it kind of reminds me of, like, for example, during COVID time, I remember residents would try to, like, privatize beach accesses, even though the beach itself is public land, and it would make it, like, really difficult for locals to get on beaches, because basically, unless you lived on a beach with a private residential access, you were basically banned from going at some points at the peaks of the pandemic because of, like, social distancing. And so I think it's important to make sure that, like, while it needs to be handled, like, with a light hand to make sure residents are, you know, given their privacy, we also need to make sure that that public land remains public. And so I really like that point that was brought up. And also the fact that I totally respect what the mayor has to say, but also if he's given enough voice from the community, there's always room to, like, change one's mindset. And yeah, so maybe there's a way to work out, like, controlled access that isn't harmful to residents as much. That would be able to make multiple parties happy, but also obviously it can be a safety issue as well, but yeah.
I think your point about public land is interesting, because I think it is public land, right? The stairs. But doesn't it become restricted because the city doesn't allow people to go?
Yes.
up there. So is that where the issue lies? Is that what?
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
that is exactly where the issues lies. Is that it is public lands owned by the city, but they are able to restrict you from using unsafe sites or sites they deem aren't usable.
Very interesting. Vice Chair Zama, I believe you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just chiming in regarding some of the questions. So, to my knowledge, a lot of the issues too is people park within the neighborhood, and it sort of inundates the neighborhood. But like the trouble is the access points, because a lot of people to access the stairs they end up going through private property. So that's, and again, like how some commissioners shared, like it was like people sneaking into people's yards, finding people going through the rivers and then cutting through private property through that way too. So that's been a lot of the at least issues that sparked some contention. And when social media started, the hype started getting more popular, the frequency of people doing that to access those points, that was just like the kind of boiling point for some people. Not to mention some other hazards where people started doing their own vigilante, trying to keep people out, then people would get hurt because people would set things up to keep them off of their property. And then there were threats of lawsuits. So things like that kind of escalated the situation. There was a bit of cultural concerns too, because partly to go to the stairs, you do have to cut through a particular cultural site. And there were some issues happening there, as well as like tour buses dropping people off in the residential lots and then telling them to utilize like cultural access. But then they would be, with tea leaf and a stone, but they're not necessarily cultural practitioners, they're visitors. So there were a lot of things that were happening to the neighborhood that led to that large opposition. To the point of managed access, if it is injurious, I think like a discussion item at one of the other meetings too, where we couldn't maybe include some people who had thoughts on that. Because I believe like Safe Haiku Stairs, they have their own opinions what managed access looks like. I have a disclaimer conflict of interest on this one because I'm employed by another nonprofit that also had a managed access plan long before I was hired, by the way, so I wasn't a part of that. But they had a managed access plan as well, Allow Foundation. And then there are the perspectives, right, of people, cultural practitioners, as well as community members that were just adamantly opposed to it. But just kind of contextualizing some of the things going on at the stairs.
Thank you. This seems to be a pretty good topic. Is there any other comments about that or the mayor's town halls if anybody else went?
Bronson, I think this is like one of the topics we've been most, I don't know how to say it, participation in from like all the commissioners. I'm wondering if you could invite someone to be a guest speaker at our next meeting, and possibly answer some of our questions and give us a little more background on the issue. I think a lot of us have a lot of questions and a lot of unknowns. But as this is something that we're all kind of participating in and getting our attention, maybe bringing someone in to talk to us would be great.
Yeah, I can definitely do that if Chair could help also get like the perspective of the city maybe on the stairs issue, because I wouldn't know who to contact for that one or what their perspective was on it.
Sure.
I think that segues well into the next agenda item, unless there's any other comments for the discussion.
Oh, just like briefly,
Yeah.
illegal fireworks was touched on. There was one, I believe maybe two residents that were concerned about the frequency of illegal fireworks, especially on holidays. And while it's kind of a non-controversial issue in terms of the city perspective, fireworks, aerial fireworks have been illegal for over a while now. I think the main concern focus centers on enforcement of those city codes and state laws regarding aerial fireworks. So that's definitely something to take a look at as well.
Is there any comments about the fireworks? Bronson, I think. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Okay. Just on the topic of fireworks, one of the town halls that I attended, specifically for the Manoa region, there was some discussion regarding bringing a way to legalize it in a safe way. And a couple of different departments spoke on it. And because of Hawaii's risk to wildfires in certain areas, and just general like health and safety issues, it's definitely not something that can really be legalized. With enforcement, I think something that we could discuss specifically with departmental agencies is education on why not to, and kind of tie it to give people personal reasons why not to light fireworks, because it is definitely, as we all saw, an issue with enforcement.
Any other comments regarding the fireworks?
Kind of adding on to that, I do believe that the issue of fireworks is never really going to be solved unless there's a change in a cultural shift, just because of the amount of people who believe in the tradition of doing aerial fireworks, especially on certain holidays, and thus I agree with Commissioner Carranza that like there's going to be possibly the education of why these things are bad could lead to that cultural shift. But I think it's an issue of enforcement, but also just the general population believing in, or not believing, should I say, in this tradition.
Vice Chair Zama.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just share to that point. You know, it always feels like whenever it's like New Year's or anything, when it comes to fireworks, it's always like one of those prohibition dilemmas, right? It's like, how much is it working, and how we're working with this? How do we make it work, knowing it's going to happen anyway? So that's how I'm always looking at it. Like, what are the lessons of the prohibition when it comes to fireworks? But I'll just leave it at that. Mahalo.
I guess like just very briefly, like I guess maybe some attitudes may shift after Lahaina, especially because of the devastation that was caused due to wildfires. I think there may be some shifts in attitudes, possibly behaviors towards fireworks, if maybe the fire department really vocalized the threat that aerial fireworks cause in terms of the possibility of wildfires. So that's just a thought.
I do think the issue of fireworks is an issue. I think because we have a law, we either have to enforce it or we have to figure out a way to somehow change it and make it better. And I'm not saying change it to fully legalize fireworks or fully ban them, but change it in a way so that it's more enforced. I think with having this law and seeing the amount of fireworks that go off, I think we can all know that it's not doing the greatest thing. I think that lowers people's confidence in government and their efficiency and what they're going to enforce. So I do think there has to be a shift somewhere. Either we're going to start enforcing it more or we're going to change it to allow certain things. But right now I sit kind of in a weird place with this.
Any other comments? I think Vice Chair Zama, you have your hand up, but I don't know if that's a residual hand or.
Sorry, it's a residual hand.
Okay. Is there any other comments for this portion? Okay. Seeing not, moving on to the future agenda items. I know I mentioned it briefly in my email, but today is my last Youth Commission meeting. So I wanted to pass the gavel to Lindsay Millard, Vice Chair Millard, or Vice Chair Azama for the next meeting. I know that you both are more than capable of doing it.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know, Bronson, do you have any wanting to do it? And for either way. Also,
No,
are you continuing like after next month, or is next month your last meeting? Sorry, you're on mute.
No, I was just saying I had that question too, so thank you.
Yeah, I think both of us are ending next month, so either way, it'd probably be, yes, a short-term thing then to transition. So I'm okay doing it unless you really want to, Bronson.
Nah, girl, I always got like technical problems even coming onto this one. WebEx was like, you need to update, so I trust you more.
Okay, because I did have one concern though. I'm actually going to be traveling during the time of the next meeting, like international traveling. So I'm not super confident either, like in my internet connection and everything. So
Okay,
if
as
you
a
are
backup,
willing,
I'll be there in person.
okay, that would be great. And then just checking Charlotte, so that means we're creating the agenda and everything.
Yes, because I am leaving on June 28th, and I won't have any electronics. So,
Oh, damn.
yes.
Okay.
You can write me letters. Yeah.
I know, pen pals. Okay, yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing us the template then. 'cause
Yes,
don't
I
think
can
have access to that right now.
share those. I believe you do have access, but I can reshare the folder so you get the little notification.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
I also wanted to mention that we got confirmation that in August
Yes.
we'll be doing the next round of elections. And I've really enjoyed working with all of you, from like top to bottom chair, the assistant secretaries. So thank you all for that work.
Yes. So in August, a lot of terms expire. So there's going to be a whole bunch of new members and then new elections, similar to how we did a year ago, I believe. Wow, time goes by fast.
Wow.
That sounded very old of me. But Commissioner Carranza?
Yeah, building off of Commissioner Soon, since this is Charlotte's last meeting, just wanted to extend our appreciation for you this past year, being chair, helping us all out. We appreciate it, and good luck with college.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I really enjoyed working with you as well. So. Thank you guys. So just to confirm, Vice Chair Zama is going to be the temporary chair until elections in August? Yes. Okay. Announcements. Our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, July 16th at 5:30 p.m. And then resolutions and documents, as always, are due a week before the meeting. Those will be due to Chair Zama. And then also, my email will be staying the same until December if you ever need anything. Yes. Okay.
Can I just clarify something?
Yes, totally.
So during next meeting, it'll still be all our current members, right? And then come August, it's the new batch replacing some of us. So are we supposed to be handing off leadership during the July meeting already? Since some of us will be gone come August?
I think you were an acting chair, right?
There won't be replacements yet.
Oh.
You were an acting chair.
Yeah, and yeah, so Kevin just said there won't be replacements yet in July.
Okay.
So then you have to wait
Yeah, since
until the next cycle, like the new commissioners come in, they'll be in the meeting in August. So then you would do the elections in August, the same way we did my election. Yes, Diego.
So just to clarify, do the commissioners' terms that end this cycle, such as like Bronson, is their last meeting July or August? And if it's July, do we then need interim chairs or vice chairs?
It's July, yes.
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 Yeah.
Kevin just said it's July, like their last meeting, and then you would need an interim chair that's staying until August.
I think it would be similar to how we did it at the beginning of ours. Like Charlotte was the acting chair the first day we all walked in, and then we voted her in. I think like at the end of the next meeting, we'll just vote on someone to be acting chair, and that's the only position we need to fill, and that's the only position we're gonna have to fill before August. I don't think that'll be too difficult.
Yeah, because the chair has the power to do like the secretary stuff. So even if both of the secretaries were leaving now, the chair would still be able to do it. Anyway, but yes. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all very much. And I would like to call the June meeting to an end at 6:34 p.m.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Great job.
Bye, Charlotte. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Good luck in your
Charlotte.
college.
Bye.